Once upon a time, a human asked the sky a question. An peal of thunder rolled across the landscape, and he believed that he had been answered. It seemed intuitive to him. If the sky answered, then it was listening, and the answer was yes. But if the sky did not answer, then either the sky didn't hear him, or the non-answer was an answer of no, or not yet, or ask again later. Humanity has been searching for this divine message ever since. Something to explain our behavior and our purpose and the meaning of this world. And the faithful, the uncertain, the desperate all wait for the thunder. We build receptacles to catch these messages in the form of shrines, sacred places, and we hold ceremonies at them. And to try and help us further tune into the signal, we practice meditation and we chant, or we fast and go without food, or we take vows of silence. And while we listen, we also speak back. We obediently sing hymns and tell stories. We make sacrifices. We build vast monuments and architecture, hoping that the gods look down and see us. And perhaps most importantly, we pray. We're willing to do anything to let the sky know that we're still here and we're still listening. But the gods left us a long time ago, and they don't speak to us anymore. There are those who claim that the gods still talk to them, but they can do little in the way of showing others. And so for the vast majority of us, we sit and wait patiently. The silence itself has turned into an unspoken command for us to be faithful and patient and wait, and eventually we'll be rewarded. Many of us are afraid of missing that next message, or perhaps not recognizing it when it does arrive. And so we have to continue to enforce all of the ancient rules, all of the ancient logic, long after they stop serving us. Because ultimately we insist that we did get the message, and that it was in fact meant for us. And that the absence of any communication is just another chapter before the glorious return. The study of the past comes in two forms. There is the reading of the official accounts. History is written by the victors, they say. And so we read these books and these inscriptions on monuments, and we say, this is what they wanted us to see. And there's another kind where it's more akin to voyeurism. We sift through things left behind almost absent-mindedly or accidentally. Personal papers and unfinished drafts and official letters that emotion has spilt out into. When someone writes specifically for history, the intent is very careful, and they're not writing history, they're building a monument for others to remember the great deeds and the high points of a regime or a culture or a hero or a leader. But when you see a private communication, it's different. It's something that is more honest, more direct, and way more relatable. These are things that are written by real people doing real things. And while at first glance they may not seem important to us now, it's these little moments and little fragments of humanity that can really make history come alive for us. "4,000 years ago in the city of Ur, which is in modern day Iraq, a man named Aya Nasir left a stack of clay tablets in his house. Maybe he always meant to destroy them, or maybe he stacked them up for business reasons. Maybe he liked to go through them and read them every once in a while. One of these tablets, modern archaeologists call the complaint to Aya Nasir, written by a man named Nani. Nani is an angry dude in this letter. He's been sent bad product. He's been treated with disrespect. He dictates the letter via a scribe and sent it to Aya Nasir's house. And it says, "Who am I that you are treating me in this manner, and that between gentlemen such as we are? By reading this, we are intruding, we're overhearing. We're not supposed to have caught the flack that Nani was casting at his peer. Just a simple emotional fragment of a life that's no different from ours. Expressing raw emotion over a grudge, held over disrespect and a bad deal. And when I see that letter, when I read the text of that letter, I can connect to it through my own experiences far more than I can connect through the legacy of Gilgamesh or the tales of the gods and goddesses. History is riddled with these artifacts. There are lists of chores and notes about the weather, and love letters that who knows if they even got delivered. There's certainly been plenty that haven't. And there's something deeply, almost painfully honest about a message that no one else was intended to read. That person could be their true self. They wouldn't even consider that it would become a historical artifact thousands of years later. You know, in movies and TV shows, you might see notes or papers marked confidential or burn after reading. And when we see those words in the real world, we are witnessing a failure of intent. We're looking at something that was meant to go away, and for whatever reason, it didn't. on servers tucked away all over the world in humming, cooled rooms, air conditioned, and server drives and fans humming along. There are log files being generated, recording all of the minutia details of that server's operation. And they keep track of visits from strangers and the temperature of the hardware. They may spit out a warning every once in a while. Just almost a rhythmic, pulsing, chant. And these messages aren't meant to be interesting or even really read by humans at all. They're there to help one or a few people correct errors and troubleshoot problems. They're just lines and lines of a computer saying everything's okay, everything's fine, punctuated by a warning or an error message. Sometimes an IT professional is called on to fix an older system that they didn't initially set up or build, and they'll dive into these log files and they'll find little fragments of the personality of the person that did build the system. They might find a test line that they meant to remove, or it might contain some sort of inside joke, or something the tired programmer who was writing it thought it was funny. It's just this small human fingerprint hidden deep inside of this machine, woven into the code almost. If you have an old shortwave radio and you live in the right part of the world, you can find messages that are being sent out and everyone can hear them. And they're secret messages. These things are called number stations. And for a long time, mostly during the Cold War and afterwards, these transmitters would broadcast on rigid schedules. And they might begin by playing a small melody and then repeat numbers over and over again, or names or random words. If you hear them, you're an intruder into this conversation. You become a code breaker or a uninvolved party that has been dragged into this. Many people find these things exciting and interesting to wonder about, to wonder what they're saying. Perhaps the most famous one that I can think of that's still in operation comes out of the old Soviet Union. It's known as the buzzer, and ever since it started in the 70s, it has transmitted some sort of jamming signal that occasionally stops to relay a message. The jamming signal is there to ensure that no one else bothers using the channel. The voice is sometimes mechanical and cold, reading out numbers and names over and over again. And then the buzzing resumes once the message is done. Shortwave radio enthusiasts and cryptographers find these fascinating, although the codes aren't really breakable. They probably employ some sort of one-time pad that a cryptographer would tell you would be very difficult to crack without additional information. But these illustrate the nature of communication to us, and that is to communicate with another person across time and space, we have to leave some sort of mark on the universe. And anyone in the right place at the right time could see that mark. It might be a phone call overheard in a bathroom, or a voicemail left at the wrong phone number, or maybe a scrap of paper with a note on it used as a bookmark and reshelved onto a library. And somewhere along the way, we stopped waiting for divine decrees. We still pray and we still listen, but we don't really expect thunder. Although I'm sure it occasionally happens and people think, just like that first person, people think they've been answered. But there are other messages that we find that are, to me, just as fascinating. Things dropped on the floor. You might have seen a movie or a TV show where someone finds a letter tucked behind the baseboard of a house that they find during renovation. That sort of thing happens in real life. The builders may place something there. The owners of the house may repair a wall and put something inside of it. The wind may blow a letter under a gap in the floor. I have a book on my shelf. It's a biography of Mozart by a woman named Marcia Davenport. And this book was picked up at an estate sale, not for the book itself, but because on the inside of the front cover, on the flyleaf, there's a little handwritten note that says, "Whenever there's a star, whenever there's a sun, whenever there's a cloud, I'm with you." And it's signed by someone named Bill. I don't know who Bill was or who he was writing to, but that message stayed with me. I became the curator of this book. Perhaps I'll one day read it, but it's that letter that keeps it with me. I felt the need to preserve it a little while longer, at least. It's a love note not meant for me, but it's become a part of this book and a relic of some distant past. So there are all these messages out there that were never meant for us. And when we find them, we aren't just sifting through history. We're like overhearing life itself pulsing. This is the quiet thunder that answers questions we never asked. But in absence of a message from the sky, these small moments are perhaps the only signals we ever really had that remind us that we're here and we're alive. And it just keeps on going.